I teach an entire class, 2 hours of nothing but how to write on cakes. And your pastry students work for hours on how to write on something. Some of your higher end restaurants will have an employee that's their entire job is to do nothing but write on the plates. And they work at making it perfect. I haven't spent quite that much time on it, but I have the principle down. So the first thing I want to do is I'm taking my turntable away and I'm putting it onto a flat surface. Couple of reasons. One is it's much easier to pipe on something that's not moving than something that is. And two, you want your cake to be lower than what you've been working on. You want it to lower it down. And when I'm doing like full sheets or half sheets, large cakes, the lower the cake, the better you're going to get at writing on those larger cakes. So if you are a short person and your counter's pretty high, pull out a drawer and put your cake on that in order to write on it. You'll have more success, okay? So that's one of the first things. Take it off the turntable. I have an old cake decorating friend that says you are the laziest person on earth if you write in green. Sometimes writing in green is appropriate, but I'll go ahead and change the color so that you don't know I'm lazy or think I'm lazy. And I'm going to use a tip. I always use a tip when I'm writing. I do not cut. Always use a tip. And I'm going to use a number 2. I would suggest using a number 3 if you're just starting, but do not start with a number 1. A 1 is going to be very difficult to control. That's a more advanced writing. So let's use a number 2. I'm going to stir my icing so I have no bubbles. You want to make sure this is a fairly workable, so if your icing is nice and stiff for flowers, this might be the time you want to thin it down. And if I two-tone it, let's add some yellow here on that pink. That will add interest to it. I also don't want to write on a white cake with yellow icing because I'm working too hard at my writing to have it not show. I also don't want to write in black, especially on something that has these soft pastel colors. And I wouldn't bring in a red to go with these. You have to have the color coordinate with whatever it is you're working with. Okay, so here's how we're going to do it. When we write on paper, we write with our hands and our wrists like this. When we write with a cake, we're going to hold our wrists steady and we're going to write at our elbow. So all of our movement is at our elbow, okay? So my cake is on a flat surface that's not moving. Another trick is if I'm writing something that whatever it is I'm writing, if you put that in paper in front of you so that when you're writing, you can glance up quickly to see what the letters are, because I am not paying attention to the words I'm writing. I'm paying attention to where my tip is, my body position, my pressure control. These are all the things that I'm paying attention to the point where I literally have looked back at a photo to see that I misspelled my son's name on his birthday cake. My son, his birthday cake, misspelled it because I'm not focusing on what it is I'm writing, I'm focusing in on what I'm doing. So if you write it in front of you, that works to your advantage. So you've got your thing written in front of you, you've got your cake on a flat surface, you've got your icing the right consistency, you've got everything is all set to go. Then I'm going to worry about my body position. So I am standing with my feet at shoulder width apart. I'm over the cake, and I'm going to do the writing. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my writing at an angle so that if it's not perfectly straight, people can't tell, okay? The other thing, and this is 6 years of college paying off right here, is that I'm going to make the first letter fancy and nice, and then the next letters are going to be, so my first letter will be here, and then rather than writing the next letters on this line, I'm going to write them in the middle of that fancy letter, and that's an advertising technique. And you start looking at advertising print media, you'll see that they actually do that fairly often. So what's the most common thing we write? Happy birthday. So let's do happy birthday. Feet at shoulder width apart. I'm over the cake. Icing's ready. Build up the icing. Nice steady pressure. Curl it around. Happy's going to start right here in the middle. Bring it down. The P's. So all my vertical lines are vertical, the same vertical. I don't have them going all this ziggity-zaggity way. And the one P is longer than the other P. They're a little shorter. Same thing if I'm doing double F's, double T's, any letters that are doubles, one is taller than the other, okay? Or longer than the other. And then we'll do birthday. Come back, dot my I, cross my T, and I want to go in and point out the R. The R has a sharp edge on it, same with an S, no rounding, wavy stuff. Sharp R, sharp Fs, no loopity-loops on my letters, so my T is up and down as straight as possible, D is up and down straight as possible, same with the H. Now, if you kind of mess this up a little bit, don't get all worried about it, because most people, when they're at a birthday party, they know they're there for a birthday party. They know that says happy birthday. They also know whose birthday it is usually, and so, if you mess up on spelling something, don't mess up on spelling somebody's name, though. It's really bad karma. Now, one of the things that I can do is I can come back in and do a little zigzag on my letters and build them up and make them look fancy. And anytime you are doing something like that, you always have thin crossing thick. You don't have thick crossing thick. You can have thin crossing thin and thick crossing thin, but you can't have thick crossing thick. So I'm not going to come in and thicken up the crossbar, okay? I can come in and thicken up this little downward thing. I can add a couple little dots in here. I mean, you can just kind of have fun with whatever it is you're working with. We can add fleur-de-lis. So you can come up and dress it up and have fun with it, or you can just leave it plain.